Welcome back to the Homesteads, folks. I am super happy that I finally got the brush hogging done on this property. Believe me, I wish I had it done a long time ago, but working a full-time job, and as fall was coming in, the days were getting shorter. So I had only the Saturdays and sometimes Sundays to do it, and I usually want to take Sundays for a day of rest or spend time with my daughter or some family and go to church, but sometimes I had to work. But the other day, I finally finished up the remaining of it on the property, and now I can focus on other things on this property to keep it maintained, especially this fence behind me here. It needs some attention. Good thing is, I cleaned this fence row out a few years ago, and it's not gonna have that many big trees in it. I don't even need a chainsaw for this. I have my weed eater, I have a sawzall, and I have a pruners with me because this is so small. But it is so important to make sure you keep your fence rows clean. Now, this fence behind me, these posts, if you notice in these railroad ties as posts on each side of me, they're about 40 years old and they're gonna have to be replaced because they are getting bad. They're still kind of solid. I don't have no animals here, so I'm good. I am taking the barbed wire out because it needs to be replaced. I may reuse some of it for the top strand on the wire on the fence. But the reason why I'm going to be taking this fence out, keeping the steel posts in, putting new corner posts in, is because I am running sheep, haired sheep, and I'm going to raise goats. And you want that kind of fencing because, especially goat and sheep fencing, smaller the square on the woven wire, the better, because especially when you get further away from your barn, further away where you don't see your livestock, and a goat gets his head stuck, or a sheep side get their head stuck, you don't know, that animal will get distressed, or worse, a predator sees it and takes advantage and attacks it, kills it. And you don't want that. So, that fencing that's important for that fencing. But right now, I'm keeping this fence back here. It is a 4-strand barbed wire. The reason why I'm keeping this fence, not only that the property, not only that it serves its purpose, but it's also the property line, because the property that I live on is shared with my mother. My mother and father bought this property about 41 years ago from some older people that's no longer living. They bought it in the mid-60s. We moved down here in 1988. There was total of, altogether, it was 37 acres. But today, a lot of that, as my parents bought some other property and thought they would have to move closer to where my mom had to have transfer a job, they sold off part of this original land and with another piece of property that's across the road from here. But this whole property is about 25 acres, but because I had to put a house in, it is in a lien, and I need to make sure the biggest part of the property line is still intact, and the fence is the property line. So right now, this fence back here has to stay in, but it is very important to keep it clean. Why is it important to keep it clean every year, or you can check it every year, or check your wire? It's because you want to make sure your livestock doesn't get out. You want to make sure that the trees, if you get any trees grow, and you're going to have that. Here in Missouri, we have trees that are native here. We also have trees that are invasive. Here's the problem. Even the trees are native, like the biggest thing we have is called cedar trees. They like to produce the offspring. The good thing about it is once you cut a cedar tree down, it doesn't come back. But we do have other trees that can be invasive from birds bringing the seeds on, like mulberries. We do have an invasive tree called the Bradford pear that wasn't native here. It was brought in for yard ornamental trees. Very pretty in the spring, white flower. But unfortunately, it does spread, and I have to deal with that every year on this property to keep it clean. I do have a few of them growing in this fence row. Good news is that they're not big enough that I have to have a chainsaw. But if I don't take care of it, don't remove these trees, here's the problem. Those trees are gonna grow, they're gonna grow into the fence, they're gonna get thicker and thicker, and guess what happens? It will swallow the wire, it will grow around that wire, and then I have to cut the wire and also take a chance of damaging the equipment or the chainsaw or chain trying to cut, because you don't know where that wire is. So best bet is to stay on it every year. I do have a property line border fence on the backside that is, I can give you an example of how bad it is, and it needs to be taken care of. But I have to work with my neighbor on that because I don't know if she wants those removed, but I can at least keep my side clean no matter what. But I want to make sure that that fence stays clean, because if not, it's going to get out of the way. And plus, there are cedar trees over there that has to be removed because it causes issues on the property where you'll have a tree sprout up mysteriously anywhere. And that's the reason why, especially fence rows. Fence rows is notorious about that, and it sucks that you got to keep on doing it. But if you keep them maintained, you don't have to worry about doing a big work. I know I cleaned a few years ago on the other side, the back side where my lagoon is. I have to work on that. I let that go a few years ago, and now I have overgrown with another invasive type of plant that is, I don't know if it's native here or not. I'm assuming it is. It's called a multiplier rose bush. Those things will grow like wildfire. I have a couple of them in this fence row that I will be taking out. Good news, they're very, very small. I don't have to worry about them. Once they cut out, they'll die. I don't have to worry about it. But you have to keep it up. I mean, it's very important. Otherwise, they will grow, and then you have to have a bulldozer come in, or you have to cut it out by hand, and it can be very much work. If you do it, keep it every year, and you're good. So I'm going to also, before I get started on cleaning this fence row, since I'm done brush hogging, there is places that I will have to do stuff on foot. And just right below this hill is an area that is too dangerous to brush hog because there is a washout. I got close as I can with the tractor, but I don't want to get any closer, because if that tire just happened to slip, it'd be the end of me, and I don't want that. And I want to make sure, I know we're not promised tomorrow, but I'm certainly not going to help it to go quicker. So y'all sit up, and I'm going to start working on this fence. Now I need to fix this section of fence. I have a broken wire right here, and so I have some spare wire down here that I am going to use to fix this fence. I'm hoping I don't have to use it, but most likely I probably will. The reason why I want to fix this is because it looks terrible. And also, if you're going to hold any livestock, you want to make sure your fences are all repaired. You don't want to have no broken wires. Where you have a broken wire, your livestock's going to get through, regardless if it's woven wire or barbed wire. So I'm going to fix this fence here, and that way this will be done, and this section of fence will be completely cleaned out and repaired. Oh yeah, you want to make sure if you cut any wire and you have any wire fall, make sure you pick it up, because if not only you can get a hole in your tires on your tractor or implement or your vehicle, but also you don't want your animals be eating this or get it into their feet. So make sure you pick up any wire that's broken. And there you have it. The fence is fixed. I got a section of this fence cleaned out. Now I'm going to wrap this video up. it is, I did a lot of accomplishing here. I still have a way to go with the fence, and hopefully here by Thanksgiving, I'm hoping I have this fence row cleaned up. Matter of fact, I'll probably do another couple video series on this fence, cleaning it out, and and that way I can move on to the next thing I need to do on the homestead, which is on the far north side of the property, where I have a widowmaker tree that finally the top has finally fell down. So now I can actually finish taking the trunk down safely, cut it up, get it out of there, so that way that's not in my way. So like always, let's be kind, be positive, have a good attitude, and encourage and support one another. Y'all have a great day. God bless, and I'll see you on the next one.